Let's do this.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. We are recording this on.
Let's go. Gay Pride. It's June. We gay. We gay and we gay.
Shall we say we're Gatwa? Anyway, and we are going to be talking about. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Geek Bites, brought to you by the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey!
On this episode of Geek Bites, we are back to talk about the most recent episode of Doctor Who Dot and Bubble. This is season 1, episode 5, or series 14, episode 6, however you're counting. This is the episode we're going to be talking about here on this show. A lot went on in this episode, Mike, a lot for us to dive into here. The world of technology, the world of Doctor Who in little windows with Ruby Sunday and the Doctor there hanging out. We got ourselves a nice little slug situation going on. So much happening, and a dreamy guy named Ricky September to be part of it all, Mikey. So a lot for us to get into for sure here on this episode of Geek Bites here for Doctor Who Dot and Bubble. And this is a spoiler review. If you haven't watched the show, then turn around, go back, watch it, and come back and hang out with us. Or if you don't care about getting it spoiled, and maybe this will give you some interest to watch the episode, then keep on watching here. So, Michael Vogel, your thoughts overall on this particular episode, Dot and Bubble, and if you want to address your pride situation with your Elton John glasses and Mickey Mouse ears, knock yourself out.
Address my pride situation. I prided a lot this weekend. It's in West Hollywood's Pride Festival, and
yeah,
I'm a little tired today, everybody. I'm a little tired, but I'm never too tired to talk about geek stuff. And I did actually quite enjoy this episode. It was it's a very different episode compared to the others, and kind of a bummer, I guess, when you get to the end. I mean, that doesn't end on a high note, doesn't make you feel great about the world, but it still felt very Doctor Who to me. And I think Ncuti Gatwa's performance as the Doctor in those last few minutes was really, really powerful. And I think, like any good sci-fi episode, this gives you a ton to chew on. I mean, is this like my favorite Doctor Who episode that I've ever seen? No, but does it really hit a bunch of I mean, the commentary was coming fast and hard on multiple levels that I know we're going to discuss. Yes. And I thought it was really interesting for that. Like, I had the same problem with this episode that I, as a viewer, have with Black Mirror episodes, which is not that I dislike Black Mirror, because I actually think it's really good, but I am an inherently optimistic, happy person. Yes. And so when you're watching things like Black Mirror, when you get to the end of things and you're like, well, the statement here is people are pretty shitty, you're kind of like, I felt like the Doctor a little bit at the end. I was like, God, these people. So, it has that sort of makes you think, but doesn't make you feel great feeling. It's like taking your medicine, but it was really fun pastel colored medicine with space slugs. So you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I thought this, me, Michael, I love the darker stuff. I love the bleak point of view and pessimism on humanity. Part of what makes us such good friends. We are on opposite sides on so many approaches to the world, yet we both, you accept that there is some negativity, and I accept that a positivity is the way out of all these things. So it helps us to be a part of our friendship and work together so well. But this episode, I love when Russell T. Davies allows himself to slide into his inherent nature as a pessimist about the human condition, and setting this in the future I thought was really powerful because of what's going on in our world nowadays. Yes, of course, it's very clear that it's a commentary on how we're quote unquote in our own bubbles and we only see what we want to see and surrounded by our friends.
Is that what it meant?
Yeah, exactly. Social media and influencers, commentaries on that. The idea of not being able to walk or do regular things because you're so caught up in your bubble that the basic approach to the world is lost on you. Working only 2 hours a day, and the rest of the time you're off partying or whatever. And the fact that your parents have basically shot you off to another planet so they don't have to deal with you because you're a bunch of rich, bratty kids. And then the episode is so smart because it makes you care for Pepper. And then by the end, you will, oh my God, I was such an idiot to care for her, because this is a bunch of racists who essentially gatekeep their community away from Black people. And we see that in how they treat the Doctor, but the Doctor staying strong even at the end, going, call me what you want, just let me save your lives, being the bigger person by the end. So this was a powerful commentary, not on just technology and the way technology can absolutely control our lives and manipulate us and control us, but also how racism, in essence, will never die and will always be there, and there will be always an excuse to do it. And there's a number of instances throughout this episode that teased, when you go back and watch it again, what they were leading to in that final moment, and it was just devastating.
Well, and what's interesting, I was reading, and I read somewhere that I think Russell T Davies had this idea long before Ncuti Gatwa was the Doctor.
Right. Yes.
Like, I think the idea of doing a planet that was like Finetime, where people were confined in their bubbles, and then they didn't want the help from anybody, and they looked down at people. I think he had the idea a while ago, and I was texting with some friends, and I think that it's interesting when you watch this episode, because if this had been a Matt Smith episode, if this had been a Peter Capaldi episode, and then at the end they were like, "You're not one of us, you're not like us," it actually would have worked just as well. Like, it would have worked 100%. Fine, and it would have been a commentary on class, or it would have been a commentary on otherness, or it could have been anything. But once they cast Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, it's not like it is. I think what's so jarring and upsetting about it is it's not specific. Like, they never say we don't like you because you're black,
right?
But the words and the word choices in the script and the way they use it at the end, like screen to screen contact is okay, but like just barely, and then like the fact that they refer to the TARDIS as voodoo, not just magic, not just anything, but voodoo specifically, and then don't walk away before he contaminates you. Like, it's impossible to separate the blackness of Ncuti Gatwa as the first official Black Doctor from the story, and that makes it so much more hard-hitting, and it makes the Doctor's plea at the end of like, look, you can say whatever you want or think whatever you want about me, I just want to save you, all the more heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure. And because she gives Ruby Sunday an opportunity to convince her to do these things and look and put down the bubble and see what's happening, that these slugs are eating her fellow people there, but it's because Ruby Sunday is white, right? In retrospect, when you go back and watch the episode,
when I watched the episode, it seemed to me that Ruby was able to appeal to her as a younger, person. Who, like, oh, okay, like, you seem like you speak my language. Ruby was being much nicer and kind of let me talk around this, where the Doctor just kind of came in and said aliens. So you can read that either way, and they are very. I went back and rewatched the ending for this exact reason. I was like, wait, are they othering the Doctor and Ruby, or are they only othering the Doctor? And when you go back and watch it, all of the Finetimers and all of that planet in general is all very pastel.
Yeah.
Everyone is in these like very pastel colors. And Ruby's jacket in this episode is a pastel blue that matches exactly the pastel blue of the Finetimers. So I think even in the costume design, they're like, oh, Ruby can kind of pass. Ruby is accepted in at the beginning. She's like she talks to Ruby, she does this, whereas like she immediately gets rid of the Doctor. And then the Doctor at the end is in like these dark browns and reds, whatever. And he just, color-wise, everything, he feels separate, whereas Ruby kind of feels like she almost fits in her costume choices. And then they kind of just ignore Ruby completely. But all of their you can't do this, you're not like us, is all directed specifically at the Doctor only. So I feel like that was a choice that also kind of underscored, oh, we're inherently going for this message here. It's not like we don't like either of you. Like, Ruby's just sort of ignored in those last 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I think this is, when you go back and watch the episode again, like seeing her reacting to when the Doctor first shows up on her screen, she immediately blocks him. She has this disgusted look on her face, blocks him, and then later when she actually has more contact with him, she goes, oh, you're that guy, you look just like, and so basically implying that idea that she doesn't have a lot of exactly, you all look the same, don't have a lot of exposure to Black people. So that's really powerful. And don't forget, and what I think was great that Millie Bridges did here Millie Gibson rather, at the end, her reaction is to reflexively reach for the doctor and touch the doctor and console the doctor because she has grown up with a black parent, black grandmother. So she is aware of the treatment that black people receive versus the treatment she would receive. So there's even more here of an understanding and a cultural connection to what's happening that I thought was really powerful to see at the end. It ends, man, just ends on this sad note of this back and forth that these people are going off to die because they'd rather go off to die than work with a black person to possibly save themselves and save their civilization. And don't forget, Mike, earlier in the episode, the great abrogation, I think is what it's called. The thing they did, the rule they overturned is what led them to have the Caucasian only society they have. And it's possible that could be a commentary on affirmative action or overturning laws against racism, these kinds of things, that this is what leads to an all-white society that eventually will consume itself or cause an AI to want to kill them, which I thought was a fascinating twist in the show. Yeah.
And I think like we've been saying, like the fact that NCUTI GATWA is the doctor makes this super specific and unique to this doctor. But I also think what was good about the episode on the whole is that his reaction is, as far as my knowledge of Doctor Who thus far, which is not as great as a lot of you guys listening, is exactly how the doctor would react.
Yes.
Like the doctor, no matter what, cherishes all life. He doesn't care if you're a space alien, a monster, a giant bug, whatever. Like he's going to want to try and help you. Like that's kind of who he is and what he does. So I think they did a really nice job in that. As we're talking about, this is very specific on the surface, literally, but that his reaction is very much in keeping with being the doctor.
Yes.
Like it's that he would still, at the end of that episode, after everything they say, he would still help them.
Yeah.
But they refuse to take his help. That's the tragedy isn't who they are, but it almost makes who he is that much more special to me.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, at the end. Let's talk about Lindy Pepperbean. That's who Callie Cook plays. What'd you think of this character here as a representation of influencer society, representation of young people, a representation in the end, of course, obviously, of this elite racism that exists within a number of rich white elite here in our world, across the globe, by the way, not just in any specific country. What did you think of the portrayal here and her character? And did you like how the show initially had you kind of dismiss her a little bit and then empathize with her and connect with her and want to save her life, and her interaction with Ricky September and what that leads to, where she sacrifices him in order to save herself in some selfish way, and then at the end turns her back on the doctor specifically because of his race. So what did you think of her performance, and what did you think of this character here in Doctor Who?
I thought she had a great performance, mainly because you should have just absolutely hated her. Like she's a horrible person, but she was performing the shit out of it. I think what was great, like good storytelling keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
And so in this hour, we are presented with this person who is in this bubble.
Yes.
And literally, as we've been saying, but she's in this bubble. She's only focused on her social media. She can't do anything without the AI telling her what to do.
Yeah.
And she's living this life. And the doctor and Ruby are like, we need to help you. We need to help you. There's some shit going on. So what the setup here is, through meeting the doctor and Ruby, this is a character that's going to overcome living in this bubble and become this hero for her people.
Right.
Is a direction that could go. Yeah. That's the happy direction. Oh, she's going to realize the error of her ways and step outside the bubble. So you're watching it all happen and you're like, okay, that seems where it's going. But then there's like these little things, like all of their slang, all of the way they talk to each other is so infantilized. Like they all talk like babies. And then she continually gets mad at the doctor and Ruby for talking to her like she's a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though all of her talk and all of her friends talk to each other like babies, which is a really interesting commentary in and of itself. But then you get to this point where she doesn't have the AI bubble. She's having to do stuff on yourself. And you're like, okay, here's where things are going. And then Ricky September shows up. And so automatically, okay, so wait, I've seen enough Black Mirror. Like, why is the social media guy who's like the big celebrity, why is he out of his bubble? And why is he helping her? I don't trust this. Oh, he's probably going to really be the bad guy. He's gonna, and then Ruby, and then she's gonna have to, get past that or get over her fandom of him, and then that's gonna make her the hero.
Right.
And then you get down into the thing and you find out that it's alphabetized and the AI is bad and everything, which when the doctor said, "I'm really sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but I think the AI hates all of you," really made me laugh. It really made me laugh because it's the one time I'm like, I think that Skynet in Terminator is an asshole AI. Why did you have to blow everybody up? That's some bullshit. Skynet, you're mean. This AI, I was like, if I had to listen to these people talk all day.
After you've achieved sentience.
I've been designed. I can do all these things, and you guys just all want to talk to each other about the clothes that you're wearing and I need to tell you how to walk forward. I'm done with this shit. You're done. I'm like, you know what? I buy it. But you then have that the moment that she turns on Ricky September.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, his name starts with C. And like the hurt, you're like, oh no, he really was. Yeah. He was the one good guy on this planet. And he was the one good guy because he didn't live in the bubble. He turned that shit off and wrote music. Like he was actually exactly what he said he was. He was a good person. And she threw him under the bus without even, like, she went from, this is the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And then he had to remind her that a bunch of people were dying. But she was like, but I met you. This is awesome. To throwing him under the bus, to then 2 seconds later telling her friend Hoochie Pie that he was a wonderful man. And then just straight up lied to the doctor. So you go on this whole journey where you think this is the main character I'm following, and they're going to, by their exposure to the doctor and his companion, kind of become a better person or kind of lead her people. And then she just doesn't. And she goes from, and then, like there's that weird moment where she's lying to the doctor about Ricky said, oh, he went back.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I'm like, how is this thing going to end?
Right.
Like I'm literally going like, where? She's bad. Like, where are we going? And then they flip it all around and you're like, oh, okay, that's where this is going.
Yeah.
Like you're like, wow, you really, and you could argue if you wanted to be a positive person, that the way that she looks back at the doctor right at the end as the boat is going away, and he's and the tear is coming down his cheek, that she has some level of regret or remorse or some kind of base understanding that she wouldn't be on that boat without him.
Right.
But I don't think so. I think she's gonna go off into the forest with her pioneer buddies, and they're all gonna die within about 20 minutes because they can't walk.
Probably, yes. And she'll think about him as she's dying, that she should have done one thing or the other. And she'll probably try to sacrifice every one of her companions before that thing can get to her. And I think you might be right. Maybe there's like a moment where the programming breaks and they don't. Because I mean, I think that's another way to look at this, is that they're all they see are their white friends and their white approach and the weird names. You're right. Hoochie Pie, Blake Very Blue, Gothic Paul. All these names, Ricky September, Harry Tendency, Cooper Mercy, interesting names, but they're kind of infantile, childish names. And the way they're in the way she is programmed in this bubble to only see this just shows like she only sees what she sees and questions it. So maybe it's the programming a little bit too, because she couldn't go past her programming. She is doomed to end up where everyone else ends up because she won't break the pattern. And it's ironic because Ricky breaks the pattern, which I think you said so well, Mike. Ricky breaks the pattern. How does Ricky break the pattern? By reading, by educating himself, by being smarter about the world. He knew about the pulses and the numbers and all of that stuff because he's a reader. And what does she do? She kills the most intelligent guy because she has to save herself. In a way, that's a commentary on rejecting education, rejecting intelligence, rejecting exposure to people from other cultures so you can be more educated and elevated as a person.
And I mean, she basically does the same beat twice, but it works really well because you're so surprised. But like, Ricky September helps her. She wouldn't have been able to get where she was without him. 100%. And she instantly turns her back on him and doesn't feel bad about it. And seconds later, the doctor is like, I can help you. And she instantly turns her back on him. So you're absolutely right. I mean, it is interesting, but like, even in the way that they talk about death, I mean, she doesn't say mom, where's my mother? It's mommy.
Right.
Where's mommy? Oh, mommy went to the sky.
Yeah.
Mommy went to the sky? That's awesome. Oh, she's so lucky. Like the way that they talk about everything is completely infantilized. Like they are walking babies. Yeah. It's really, really interesting.
Well, and I like that Russell, because I like that Russell sometimes skewers hard. He's in essence skewering this influencer culture and the young people you see nowadays who want to talk like babies, who want to be infantilized with each other. I mean, Ariana Grande being carried everywhere she goes like a little doll, like a little child, but that they want to be seen as adults. Like, I'm also an adult. Like, yes, I may talk like a baby, so they want their cake and eat it too, right? So there's a sense of this belief that they can operate in the world this way, and I think Russell's taken a little bit of shots at that possibility, at that situation that's happening in our world with some of these influencers as well, which I appreciate. So let's take a look at something else here, Michael. What do you think of the design of this world here? We saw some of these bright designs throughout here in the world. You look at the Doctor and the way he's set up there as well. Even the slugs. What do you think of slugs? What do you think of the design of the world here and the design of these slugs as we went further into this particular episode?
I mean, like I said, the thing that I take away from the design is pastel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, and again, pastel colors are very childlike.
Yeah.
Lots of children's rooms are painted in pastel. Like, everything about this whole world, it's designed to be a giant playpen.
Yes. Right.
And the slugs are interesting. I mean, this seems to be something on Davy's mind, because we had a Space Babies episode where there was a bunch of babies and they had a nanny and there was a monster under the bed. And now we have another world of children who are talking about mommy and daddy and living in this pastel colored world, and they're being eaten by space bugs. Like, it is.
Good point. Yeah.
I mean, aside from the nanny aspect, which you could argue the AI, the dot itself, is kind of the nanny, because it's literally telling them how to walk. There's a lot of similarities here. So whatever is rolling around in his head about how he feels about youth and culture and society, it seems to be on display in more than one episode. But so I think that's the thing, is I think everything in the dialogue of the Finetimers, to the design of their world, to the look of their clothes, to everything, to their slang, is built to be like, you are babies. And like little baby, don't talk to me like I'm a baby. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
Okay. But where's mommy? Where's mommy? What happened to mommy? Like, it's so jarring and weird.
Yeah. I thought so too, and I thought that was nice too, because sometimes as viewers we can be fooled, right? We see this beautiful looking society. It's called Finetime, which really is like hanging a lantern on it. And the construct of it all, and I love technology, so the idea of having a bubble where I can see, I mean, it's like essentially Apple Vision Pro is what was going on there, if you guys have seen the videos on those things. And of course, it's referenced to that Black Mirror episode with Bryce Dallas Howard. There's elements of that here, but but this is something that could lull you into a sense of like, wow, this could be a fun future, blah, blah, blah. But then you see, as these bubbles come down, as we see what's really happening, that this is what it can lead to, because you can be so caught up in this bubble that you don't see what's going on around you. You don't see, and you brought it up earlier, what you said, what she tells Ricky, like, this is the greatest day of my life. And Ricky's like, thousands of people are still being eaten, right? So this idea that your selfish needs are much more important, or you're satisfying your selfish needs in that moment, is much more important than you thinking about the bigger picture. Don't think about the bigger picture. Stay in the bubbles. Don't look at the slug eating your friends over there. Stay in the bubble. And it's only when she's finally forced to look that she sees what's going on in the world. But in the end, as you said, like a baby who has no emotional maturity, it only knows survival. And then it's infantile judgment and racism. It defaults to all of that. So to put that against a beautiful backdrop makes it very clear to you that appearances aren't always what they seem, and just because it's pretty and nice looking doesn't mean it isn't dangerous underneath.
This is not some post-apocalyptic dystopian world. I mean, this literally looks like the chocolate Cadbury eggs you get every Easter. I mean, it's just like, it's so bright and in your face. And like I said, when you watch the end, I mean, the Doctor, it's interesting because there's like, it's like when you watch the opening of Beauty and the Beast, you don't notice for the first time that you watch it that everyone in the entire town is wearing earth tones and Belle is the only person in blue, which just automatically makes her stand out. This is literally that in reverse. Like, when you look at the Doctor in that image you showed up at the beginning on the Finetime, he's wearing like a bold red sweater, but that kind of does fit in with everything. It all just looks like a very bright episode. But when you get to the end and Ruby is wearing a pastel blue jacket, which she's also wearing in the episode, so she fits right in, the Doctor has a brown coat over his red sweater. And it just really, he literally if you put every one of them up on a color palette and looked at all their costumes, your eye would go right to the Doctor as the one thing that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting how, like I said, like the art design of Finetime itself, everything kind of leads to this thing. And again, the fact that the AI got sentient and was like, I hate these kids, I hate this planet, I hate all these people who send these kids to this planet, I'm going to kill them all in alphabetical order. I'm not mad at it. Not mad at that AI.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm condoning it. As Chris Rock once said in a stand-up, I don't condone it, but I sure as shit understand it. And so,
yeah, exactly.
So here, and I think also it's important that the home world has been completely devastated by these slugs as well. So clearly the AI passed judgment on this whites only society and decimated it because it is a ridiculous approach to the world. And so I love that the commentary is coming through very strongly in a number of these episodes this season, Mike. And there's kind of like X-Men 97, no shame in the commentary and strong in the commentary. And I appreciate that instead of playing it a little more mealy mouthed. I will say, I wish they had dialed in a little bit stronger in the moment, but I think maybe sitting with it was the intention and leaving you with that rather than giving you some happy ending at the end. It actually left you thinking about it so that when you watch it over and over again, this episode hits you even more powerfully every time.
I don't know, man. I would say, like, because like I said, because like it's almost like it happens so fast that you're like,
yeah.
What the fuck happened? But when you go back and watch it, everything is so deliberate, starting with like when the Doctor kind of gets her attention, the camera is like she's in the foreground, he's in the background, we can see both of their faces, and you just see this like eye roll as she turns around. And then, like I said, it's literally like screen to screen contact was barely acceptable, followed immediately by voodoo, followed immediately by come away from him or before he contaminates you. And then his plea to them, I don't care what you think of me, I just want to save you. And then and this is where, I know that, like, because there's been some complaints about this, that like we have a Doctor Who season that a lot of these episodes have very little of the Doctor in it. I think it is because I was reading they were doing the last season of Sex Education while they were doing this season of Doctor Who. So I think shooting schedule dictated a little bit of this. Not saying that that makes it okay. I mean, I think more Ncuti Gatwa the better, but for him to not be in the majority of this episode and for him to come in hot at the end, and it's like when he realizes that they are going to just go off, his laugh that kind of turns into a cry, that just turns into this like, I'm exhausted and I'm frustrated and I'm sad and I'm just all of these emotions wrapped into this one sort of laugh cry noise that he makes. Like that man is acting for the rafters.
Absolutely. And I think that's, for those of you maybe new Doctor Who fans, the regeneration, he's still retaining the memories of every previous Doctor Who and the experiences. Now, can he remember everything? No, not every time, but the feelings, the sentiments are still there. So that scream is probably from centuries of human time of seeing species willfully march into death rather than dealing with evolving. Rather than evolving, they'd rather stay with their mentality, their point of view, and march into death. And I think that's the commentary Russell is trying to say as well of what's going on in our world. Like we got to expand, we got to accept, we got to create a world where we're all more open to accepting each other rather than a world that is looking to be excluding people and excluding assistance from people simply because they're different from us, or as you said earlier, other than us. And I think that's a powerful thing to end on. And to leave you with, by the end of the episode, for sure. Anything more you want to say on this one, Michael? Anything I missed? Any other levels that we should hit on in the symbolism?
Susan Twist.
Her mom. That's right. Pepper Bean's mom.
And now at this point, I mean, it was already pretty clear in the last episode with the fairy circle, but anything Russell T Davies is saying about, oh no, it's just, we like her as an actress and for union, like, no, like they now, like literally, he's like, wait a minute, she was the face of the AI in the Boom episode. And Ruby was like, no, but she was also this lady. And you're like, oh, okay. So like, it's clearly they are now both recognizing, like Ruby did it in the last episode where she was like, haven't we met before? And now they both have recognized that that Pepper's mom has the same face as the AI in the Boom episode. And you're like, okay, this is clearly a thing. Where it's going, I don't know. Who she is, I don't know, but it's clearly a thing. So I like that that's just been, I also think, is this the first episode where it didn't snow?
Ooh, yes, I would say yes.
I think so. Just like, I mean, just because there wasn't an opportunity for it, but like in every episode that we've had thus far, like when Ruby gets highly upset or almost dies, it snows. And this episode didn't have the opportunity, so I'm glad they didn't shove it in. But I noticed its absence.
Yeah. Good points. Good point. Oh, there we go. All right. Well, there you go. That's our spoiler review episode for this episode, Dot and Bubble of Doctor Who. The season 1 is happening here on Disney Plus through the BBC. Thank you all so much for joining us for this one, Michael. What do we have to tell them? Another fun conversation.
If you would like to follow us, you can do so on Twitter at the Geek Buddies, on Instagram at _Geek Buddies _ yay! Twitter at Geek _Buddies, on Instagram at _Geek _Buddies. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, you can do so at The Rocha Says. If you would like to follow me, you can do so on at MKToon. If you are listening to us on a podcast, you didn't realize that John just changed the header on the YouTube video so that I could read it off the screen because I don't actually know our Twitter and Instagram handle. But after you have laughed at me, we would appreciate it if you smash the like button below. Check out all the content on Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Leave your comments below. What did you think of this episode? What do you think of the season? What do you think of NCUTI GATWA? What do you think of racism and pastel colors? Let us know below. If you're listening to us on the podcast feed, leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
It's a good thing Michael's not in charge of any of our social media accounts, so he might know one of them at least. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Listen, man, I just press buttons. It's been a long weekend. Cut me some slack, Jack. I've been priding.
Ditto, man. All right, well, thank you all so much. We appreciate you hanging out with us or listening to us. We appreciate it madly. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll be back next week with another brand new spoiler review episode of Doctor Who here on the Geek Bites, brought to you by the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey!